Hello! So since this week was film festival week and all we did really was watch films, I thought I'd do this reflective journal in video format because all I can really do is reflect upon the films and review them and talk about them, and I felt it would probably be better and quicker for me to just talk at a camera rather than type about it. So hello, this is my face. I don't really need to do a spoiler warning, do I? I'm going to put one out there just in case. You know, you never know. So on Saturday we watched 3 films and they were Birdman, which everyone's raving about, Lilting, which was part of the Microwave Scheme, and In Bloom, which is a Georgian film. I knew absolutely nothing about any of them before going in. I had seen Birdman advertised, but I'd not really thought on it much, and it definitely wasn't what I expected it to be. But I thought that was a good thing, because if you're going in without any knowledge at all of what you're about to watch, you don't have any preconceptions or expectations, so you can just sit and absorb and reflect. So that's what I did. So let's get going. I have notes, so bear with. So the first one we watched was Birdman, which is about an actor played by Michael Keaton who was famous for playing Birdman in the 90s, who was a superhero, and now he's trying to put on this play to sort of take his career in a different direction. I loved this film. I kind of held back on the day when we were talking about it because I didn't want to come across as a gushing fool, but I really loved this film. I loved the acting, I loved the cinematography, just everything about it. The cinematography especially. Yeah, to me it's no surprise that it's up for an Oscar for cinematography because it's all done in tracking shots. Like, they follow the characters around the theatre where the play's being put on throughout the whole thing, and I really loved that. I just felt so immersed within it. I felt like, in fact, somebody said on the day that they felt like they knew their way around the theatre and that they could just walk around it, so I thought that was very cool. As well as that, it kind of really fit in with the fact that it was about a play, because the fact that it was all done in tracking shots made it feel like it was all done in one, so it was almost like a play in itself. And you know, I'm sure this wasn't the case, but the actors only had one chance to get it right. I really liked the fact that Birdman himself was played by Michael Keaton, who was famous for playing Batman in the 80s, so maybe that was kind of a more personal thing for him, because you know, people, you know, throughout the film everyone keeps coming up to him and going, "Oh yeah, you were Birdman!" So I'm absolutely certain that Michael Keaton gets the same kind of treatment from people in the street. And I'm sure Robert Downey Jr. will get the same kind of thing in, say, 20 years' time, unless they're still making Iron Man films then, which they probably will be, knowing Marvel. The ending especially was very interesting to me. That was probably my favourite thing about it, and many people will dispute me on this, but I thought it was absolutely sound, because this is particularly spoilerific, so skip to the next bit if you don't want to hear about it. Throughout the film, when he's having these hallucinations, if you will, of Birdman talking to him and hearing voices in his head and having this idea that he can fly, I kept thinking, if he jumps out of a window thinking he can fly at the end and then dies because of it, that is going to be such an annoying cliche, and it would have really annoyed me as well because the rest of the film was done so good. But it didn't end that way. I mean, he did go out the window, but then, and you didn't see what happened, but then his daughter came to the window, and she at first you thought it would end like that because she's looking around on the floor, but then she looks up and just kind of smiles to himself. And although it doesn't say that he's flying, I like to believe that he was. That's my whimsical opinion. But I would give this film a 4 out of 5 because no film is perfect and I'm incredibly stingy, but I could probably give it a 5 if I was persuaded. But I definitely want to see this one pick up some Oscars because I think it really deserves them. Alright, so the second film we watched was called Lilting. I said before, this was part of the Microwave Scheme, which is a scheme that gives short filmmakers the means to make their first feature film. Apparently the other films that were part of it didn't really take off, so this one must have had something about it to make it do particularly well. I liked it, I really did, and not just because I've been a big fan of Ben Whishaw for a long time, in whatever reason. It really warmed my heart in a few places, and I think I got the impression that that was what it set out to do, so props for that. What it's about is a Chinese woman who lives in the UK and her son-in-law, and it's set after the death of her son. It's not only about coping with bereavement but also clearing up some stuff that didn't get cleared up while her son was alive, because she didn't actually know that her son was gay. She was under the impression that Ben Whishaw and her son were just roommates. So yeah, it really made me feel a lot of things, mostly sad things, but also very happy things as well. I very much liked the British comedy aspect of it, because I did get a few moments where I was giggling. I think one of the reasons maybe that it did so well was because it has the potential to bring in audiences from two completely different cultures, because I mean you've got most of it's in English, and you've got Ben Whishaw, who is, you know, really pretty big in British cinema, but you've also got Sheng Pei, which I probably just pronounced atrociously wrong, so I apologise for that. She's pretty massive in China. She's been like, or Asia anyway, she's been in like 50 million things. So yeah, that was there for the Chinese audience as well. I'm only going to give it a 3 out of 5 because I felt like with the parts when they were communicating through a translator kind of dragged a bit, because she had to say something and then the translator had to repeat it and then he had to say, yeah, it was just like kind of delayed the back and forth flow of the conversation. But other than that, I thought it was a solid film, so props to you. I keep saying props today, I don't know why, I've never said that before in my life. So the final film we watched was In Bloom, which is a 2013 Georgian film, completely subtitled, and I'll be honest, I enjoyed it the least of the 3 films that we watched. I'm not going to say flat out that it was rubbish, because it obviously had something there because it won prizes and stuff. I think it might have just not been to my taste. A lot of the stuff you saw, a lot of the time, was quite harrowing to me anyway. And I'm not saying things have to be all fuzzy and warm and happy all the time, but to me it became quite monotonous in a way, I suppose. The plot is quite uneventful for the most part. Well, that's how it felt. It felt like it went plodding along and didn't really go anywhere. A lot of people who watched it as well thought that the ending was quite unexpected and abrupt, which is fine. It's fine. I've got a few niggles with it, and those are very personal niggles. The plot that there was revolved around these 2 young girls who were around 14 years old, and just the friendship between them, and you know, the problems that they face at home, because they have quite turbulent family lives, and also there's a lot of political problems going on in the background. It doesn't really pay much time to that though, like you only really hear it through radio reports that are on in the background. I would have liked to be given a bit more context, obviously, because I'm not Georgian, so I don't know anything about what goes on in Georgia. I feel really ignorant saying that. I feel like I should know what was going on in Georgia in the 90s now. I'm gonna look that up. But one thing I did like was, you know, how much time it did pay to showing the friendship between 2 female characters, and especially 2 who are so young, because I don't feel like we see a lot of that. I kind of felt like, because the 2, their names were Eka and Natia, and I felt like Eka was kind of underplayed a little bit. I think Oh, by which I don't mean that the actress underplayed her or she was doing a great job. I just felt like they didn't give her as much time as they did to Natya. Which is a shame, but I can see why they did it, because they had a lot of stuff going on with Natya. Like the, spoilers, kidnap wedding that happened 3/4 of the way through. What was that about? I don't know. Apparently that's something that goes on in Georgia that shouldn't, but does. It was treated as quite a normal thing. Like, even she didn't, Natya, who was the one who was kidnapped, she didn't seem that perplexed by it. She just thought it was another thing. It was Eka who was more bothered by it. So again, I would have liked a bit more context, but at the same time it is Georgian cinema in the Georgian language set in Georgia, so I imagine, you know, it kind of has the right to assume you know a lot about what it's talking about, because its primary audience is going to be Georgians. So I'm going to be generous and ignore my personal taste and give it a 3 out of 5, because I think it did a really good job in terms of characters, and it was something I hadn't seen before, so that was nice and refreshing. So yep, those are my thoughts on those 3 films. I might do more video journals, because I actually enjoy talking more than I do typing, so we'll see, and I'll talk to you next time, possibly. Okay, bye!